Abandoned and ill. Woman faces betrayal over inheritance, but husband finds a surprise at while reading. The soft morning light filtered through the lace curtains of Rose's charming Seattle home, casting delicate patterns on the wooden floor. The house, a quaint inheritance from her beloved grandmother, was filled with the echoes of her childhood. Each corner held a memory, from the creaky staircase to the worn kitchen table where countless family meals had been shared. Rose, a 35-year-old woman with a gentle smile and a heart full of nostalgia, cherished every inch of this space. It was more than just a house to her. It was a sanctuary, a living tapestry of her past. Rose lived there with her husband, John, a man whose ambition often outpaced his sense of contentment. Working at a tech company, John was constantly chasing the next promotion, the next raise, the next step up the ladder. His restless spirit was both admirable and exhausting, a stark contrast to Rose's appreciation for the simple pleasures in life. Despite their differences, they shared a comfortable routine, finding joy in the quiet moments they carved out amidst their busy lives. However, a new tension had recently entered their home, one that threatened to upend their delicate balance. Diane, John's mother, had moved in after facing financial difficulties. Her arrival added a layer of complexity to their household dynamics. Diane was a formidable woman, with a sharp tongue and a tendency to criticize more than compliment. Her relationship with Rose had always been strained, their conversations often tinged with a subtle undercurrent of disapproval. "I see you still have that old rug in the living room," Diane remarked one morning, her voice laced with thinly veiled judgment. Rose forced a smile, determined to keep the peace for John's sake. The days turned into weeks, and the strain of Diane's presence became more palpable. Rose found solace in the familiar routines of her home, tending to the garden, baking in the sunlit kitchen, and losing herself in the pages of a well-loved book. Yet, a sense of unease lingered. She longed for genuine connection, for the warmth of a home filled with love rather than tension. "You know," she confided in her friend Claire over coffee one afternoon, "sometimes I feel like this house is the only thing keeping me grounded." Claire nodded, her eyes full of understanding. "Houses have a way of doing that," she said. "But remember, it's the people who make it a home." Rose sighed, her heart heavy with the weight of her unspoken worries. As she glanced around her cherished home, she wondered how long it could withstand the growing storm within its walls. The afternoon sun bathed the small cafe in a warm glow as Rose and Claire settled into their favorite corner booth. The comforting hum of chatter and the rich aroma of freshly brewed coffee enveloped them. Claire, always perceptive, sensed the weight on Rose's shoulders. "You seem distracted today," she remarked gently, her eyes searching Rose's for an answer. Rose sighed, tracing her finger around the rim of her cup, lost in thought. "I've been thinking a lot about what really matters," Rose began, her voice barely above a whisper. She paused, gathering her thoughts. "You know, sometimes it feels like we spend so much time chasing after things we think will make us happy. Money, status, all of it. But in the end, what truly matters are the relationships we build, the love we give and receive." Claire nodded, understanding the depth of Rose's reflection. It was a sentiment that resonated deeply with both women, a quiet truth often overlooked in the hustle of everyday life. Rose continued, her words growing in confidence as she spoke. "John is always so focused on the next big thing. I worry he's missing out on the little moments that make life special. And with Diane here, it feels like I'm constantly walking on eggshells, trying to keep the peace." Claire reached across the table, giving Rose's hand a reassuring squeeze. "You're doing the best you can, Rose. It's not easy balancing everything, especially with someone like Diane around," she said, offering a comforting smile. Their conversation flowed naturally, with the kind of ease that comes from years of friendship. They reminisced about old times, shared stories of their childhoods, and laughed over silly anecdotes. Claire's presence was a balm to Rose's troubled mind, a reminder of the importance of authentic connections. "Remember when we used to dream about our futures?" Claire mused, a wistful smile playing on her lips. "It's funny how life turns out, isn't it? So different from what we imagined, yet still full of unexpected beauty." As they parted ways, Rose felt a renewed sense of clarity. Her conversation with Claire had reinforced her belief in the value of genuine relationships. She knew that, no matter what challenges lay ahead, she was not alone. With friends like Claire by her side, she could face whatever came next. As she walked home, the words she had shared with Claire lingered in her mind. Sometimes, the most valuable things in life are the ones money can't buy. A few weeks later, Rose found herself sitting in a sterile waiting room, the fluorescent lights buzzing softly overhead. The faint antiseptic smell filled the air, mingling with the quiet rustle of magazines and the hushed conversations of patients. She felt a tight knot of anxiety in her stomach, a feeling she couldn't shake off as she waited for her name to be called. Lately, she had been feeling unusually tired and plagued by persistent aches that she couldn't explain away. "It's probably just stress," she had told herself repeatedly, but deep down, she knew there was something more. Finally, her name was announced, and Rose rose from her seat, smoothing down her clothes as she followed the nurse into the examination room. The doctor, a kind-looking woman with glasses perched on her nose, greeted her with a warm smile. "Rose, it's good to see you," she began, her voice steady and reassuring. But as the conversation shifted to test results, the atmosphere in the room grew heavy with unspoken gravity. "We found something concerning," the doctor said, choosing her words carefully. "The tests indicate that you have cancer, and it's already at an advanced stage." The words hung in the air, each one landing with a weight that threatened to crush her. Rose's mind raced, her thoughts a chaotic swirl of disbelief and fear. It felt as if the ground beneath her had shifted, leaving her standing on the precipice of an uncertain future. Rose took a deep breath, struggling to process the news. The doctor continued, outlining a potential treatment plan, but Rose could barely focus. Her world had been upended in an instant, and all she could think about was how drastically her life was about to change. She thought of John, of Diane, of the fragile peace she had worked so hard to maintain. How would she tell them? Would they support her through this ordeal, or would it drive them further apart? Leaving the clinic, Rose walked slowly, feeling the chill of the evening air seep into her bones. She felt untethered, a small boat adrift on a vast, stormy sea. As she made her way home, she knew she had to confront the reality of her situation and reevaluate her priorities. Her conversation with Claire echoed in her mind. Relationships and love were what truly mattered. She resolved to fight, to find strength in herself and in the connections she held dear. In the quiet of the evening, Rose knew it was time to share her diagnosis with John and Diane. The thought had weighed heavily on her for days, and she realized that she could no longer keep such a significant part of her life hidden from them. She decided to speak to them after dinner, hoping for a moment when they might be more receptive. Her heart pounded in her chest as she set the table, trying to maintain a semblance of normalcy. After dinner, Rose gathered her courage. "Can we all sit in the living room for a moment?" she asked, her voice steady but laced with apprehension. John, noticing the serious tone in her voice, put down his phone and exchanged a glance with Diane. "Of course," he replied, curiosity piqued. As they settled into their seats, Rose took a deep breath, her hands trembling slightly as she prepared to share her news. "I need to talk to you both about something important," Rose began, meeting their eyes with determination. "I've been diagnosed with cancer. It's at an advanced stage, and I'm going to start chemotherapy soon." The words hung in the air, heavy with the weight of reality. John's expression shifted from confusion to shock, his eyes widening as he processed the news. Diane, typically so composed, looked momentarily speechless, her usual critical demeanor replaced by genuine surprise. John leaned forward, his voice a mix of disbelief and concern. "Rose, I had no idea. Why didn't you tell me sooner?" he asked, his tone softer than she had anticipated. Rose hesitated, choosing her words carefully. "I was scared, and I didn't know how to begin. I needed time to understand it myself," she explained, her voice steady despite the turmoil inside. Diane remained silent, a frown creasing her brow as she digested the news. The conversation that followed was difficult but necessary. John asked questions, his initial shock giving way to a sincere desire to understand and support her. Diane, though less expressive, eventually offered her own kind words, acknowledging the gravity of the situation. "We'll get through this, Rose," John assured her, reaching for her hand. Rose felt a flicker of hope, realizing that, despite their flaws, they could still be there for her in their own ways. As the night wore on, Rose felt a sense of relief wash over her. She had shared her truth, and while the road ahead was uncertain, she no longer had to carry the burden alone. For the first time in days, she allowed herself to hope that perhaps things might turn out better than she had feared. Though the dynamics in the house remained complicated, Rose knew she had taken an essential step in facing her reality, and that gave her the strength to continue her fight. Rose sat in the oncology clinic, surrounded by the quiet hum of machines and the low murmur of conversations. The start of her chemotherapy marked the beginning of a daunting journey, one filled with uncertainty and hope. She watched as the nurse carefully inserted the four, feeling a mixture of fear and determination settle over her. As the treatment began, Rose took a deep breath, reminding herself that this was a step toward recovery. She glanced around the room, noticing others in similar battles, their expressions a testament to the resilience of the human spirit. Knowing she couldn't face this challenge alone, Rose reached out to her closest friends. Sitting in her cozy living room, she shared her diagnosis with Claire and a few other trusted friends. "I've started chemotherapy," she confessed, her voice trembling slightly. The words were met with gasps and a moment of stunned silence. Claire, ever the anchor of support, immediately moved to sit beside her, wrapping an arm around Rose's shoulders. "We're here for you, every step of the way," Claire promised, her voice filled with warmth and determination. The outpouring of support from her friends was overwhelming and comforting. They organized a schedule to accompany Rose to her appointments, ensuring she was never alone during the long hours of treatment. They filled her fridge with homemade meals, showered her with messages of encouragement, and kept her spirits high with visits that were always full of laughter and love. These gestures, though simple, fortified Rose's resolve and reminded her of the strength that lay in her connections. During one of their visits, Claire and Rose sat together in the garden, enjoying the warmth of the sun on their faces. "It's strange," Rose mused, looking at the blooming flowers around them. "Even in the midst of all this, I'm finding so much beauty and love. I feel grateful." Claire nodded, a soft smile on her lips. "That's the thing about life, isn't it? It throws challenges at us, but it also gives us the people who make it all worthwhile," she replied, squeezing Rose's hand reassuringly. As Rose continued her treatment, she found unexpected strength within herself. The physical toll of chemotherapy was undeniable, but with each passing day, she felt more determined to reclaim her life. Her friends' unwavering support was a constant reminder that she was not alone in her fight. Buoyed by their love and her growing inner resilience, Rose faced each new challenge with courage, ready to embrace whatever lay ahead. She realized that while her journey was difficult, it was also filled with profound lessons about the power of friendship and the strength of the human spirit. Rose had just settled back home after another grueling session of chemotherapy when she noticed a flickering light in the hallway. Sighing, she realized it was yet another electrical issue in the aging house. She decided to call an electrician, hoping to solve the problem once and for all. The next morning, a knock on the door announced the arrival of Mike, a friendly-looking man in his early 40s with a toolbox in hand. Beside him stood a young boy, probably no older than 6, with bright eyes full of curiosity. "This is Ethan, my son," Mike introduced with a grin. "I hope you don't mind him tagging along." Rose welcomed them both in, charmed by Ethan's wide-eyed wonder at the house's many nooks and crannies. As Mike worked, Ethan wandered about, fascinated by everything from the patterned rugs to the antique clock in the living room. "This place is cool," he declared, his excitement infectious. Rose couldn't help but smile, feeling a warmth she hadn't realized she'd been missing. She spent the next few hours talking with Mike and Ethan, finding their presence unexpectedly comforting. Over the next few weeks, Mike returned several times to address various issues around the house, and each time, Ethan came along. Rose began to look forward to their visits, cherishing the laughter and energy Ethan brought with him. One afternoon, as Rose and Ethan sat at the kitchen table drawing pictures, Mike joined them, taking a rare break. "You've got a knack for making this house feel alive," Mike remarked, his gaze warm and sincere. Rose felt a flutter of happiness at the compliment, her spirits lifted by their company. As their interactions grew more frequent, Rose and Mike found themselves sharing deeper conversations. They spoke about their lives, their hopes, and their challenges. Mike, a single father, revealed the struggles of balancing work and parenting, while Rose shared her journey through cancer treatment. These conversations became a source of solace for Rose, offering her a fresh perspective on friendship and support. With Mike and Ethan around, the house felt more vibrant, infused with a sense of life that had been missing for too long. The friendship between Rose and Mike blossomed naturally, with Ethan acting as a joyful bridge between them. Rose found herself opening up in ways she hadn't expected, embracing the new connections that were forming. As the days passed, she realized that Mike and Ethan had become an important part of her life, bringing her a sense of renewed hope and companionship. Their presence was a reminder that even in the midst of hardship, unexpected blessings could appear, offering light in the darkest of times. As Rose navigated the ups and downs of chemotherapy, she found solace in the small joys that colored her daily life. Her home, once filled with tension, now echoed with laughter and warmth, thanks to the support of her friends, Mike and Ethan. Despite the physical toll of treatment, Rose began to appreciate the beauty in everyday moments. A peaceful afternoon in her garden, the smell of fresh coffee brewing, or the innocent joy of watching Ethan play with abandon. Meanwhile, Rose's relationship with John became increasingly strained. While he tried to be supportive, his focus often drifted back to work and financial concerns. The weight of Diane's presence and her constant critiques only added to the stress. John struggled to balance his ambitions with the reality of Rose's illness, and his lack of emotional availability left Rose feeling isolated at times. She often found herself reminiscing about happier days when they first fell in love, wondering if they could ever return to that place of understanding and connection. During this challenging period, Mike and Ethan became a bright spot in Rose's life. Mike's visits to fix various issues around the house turned into opportunities for heartfelt conversations. One afternoon, as they sat on the porch, Rose confessed, "I sometimes feel like I'm losing my grip on what really matters." Mike listened intently, his presence steady and reassuring. "It's easy to lose sight of things when life gets overwhelming," he replied. "But I see so much strength in you, Rose, more than you realize." These exchanges with Mike grew more significant over time. They shared stories and laughter, bonding over their experiences and aspirations. Rose found a sense of camaraderie and understanding that had been missing in her relationship with John. With Ethan's cheerful presence, the house felt alive in a way it hadn't for years. The little boy's laughter and wonder infused Rose's days with joy, helping her rediscover the simple pleasures she once cherished. Rose organized small gatherings with friends, inviting them over for cozy dinners and heartfelt conversations. These moments, filled with laughter and shared stories, reminded her of the importance of community and connection. Mike and Ethan became regular guests, their company a source of happiness and comfort. Rose realized that, despite the challenges she faced, she had built a new family, one that offered genuine love and support. With each passing day, Rose's resolve strengthened, bolstered by the love and friendship surrounding her. Although her relationship with John remained complicated, she found strength in the bonds she had forged with others. Mike and Ethan's presence, along with her close friends, provided a foundation of hope and resilience. Embracing this newfound community, Rose felt empowered to face the future, knowing she was not alone on her journey. A few months into her chemotherapy, Rose sat nervously in the doctor's office, waiting for the results of her latest tests. The familiar hum of the clinic's machines seemed louder than ever, amplifying her anxiety. When the doctor entered with a smile, Rose felt a glimmer of hope. "I have good news, Rose," the doctor announced, her voice warm and encouraging. "The treatment is working, and the cancer is regressing." Relief washed over Rose, and she felt a weight lift off her shoulders. The battle was far from over, but this was the hope she desperately needed. Buoyed by the positive news, Rose returned home with a renewed sense of purpose. She shared the update with Claire, Mike, and her friends, who celebrated her progress with heartfelt joy. Their support reinforced her determination to continue fighting, reminding her of the strength found in community and love. However, amidst this happiness, an unsettling truth was beginning to unfold, one that threatened to overshadow her hard-won progress. One evening, as Rose was tidying up the living room, she overheard a hushed conversation between John and Diane in the next room. "We need to think about the future, John," Diane said, her voice barely audible. "Selling the house could solve a lot of our financial problems." Rose paused, her heart sinking as she strained to hear more. John replied, his tone contemplative, "I've been considering it, especially if Rose's health doesn't improve." The realization hit Rose like a cold wave. John and Diane were more interested in the financial potential of selling the house than supporting her through her illness. Their conversation revealed a painful truth, that they saw her struggle as an opportunity rather than a call for empathy and support. It was a betrayal that cut deep, leaving Rose feeling alone and vulnerable, even in her own home. Devastated by this discovery, Rose withdrew into herself, grappling with the emotional turmoil of realizing that the person she once loved was planning a future without her. The house, once a symbol of her grandmother's legacy and her own cherished memories, now felt like a battleground for survival. Rose's heart ached with the knowledge that her relationship with John might never recover from this breach of trust. Amidst this heartache, Rose found solace in her friendships and her growing connection with Mike. Their conversations became a source of strength, a reminder that genuine care and understanding still existed in her life. With renewed resolve, Rose decided to confront the challenges head-on, determined to protect her home and her sense of self-worth. This realization empowered her to take control of her narrative, reminding her that she was not defined by her illness or the betrayal she had uncovered. As the weeks went by, the atmosphere in the house grew more tense and uncomfortable. Rose felt the growing distance between herself, John, and Diane, whose priorities seemed increasingly misaligned with her own. John was often preoccupied with phone calls and meetings about finances, while Diane filled the air with complaints about the costs of living and managing the household. Their conversations, though not directly aimed at Rose, carried an implicit message of disinterest in her well-being. Rose often found herself alone in her room, grappling with the reality of her situation. The emotional support she so desperately needed was absent, replaced by a cold practicality that made her feel like a burden. John's priorities seemed elsewhere, focused more on long-term plans than on being present for Rose in the moment. She felt the sharp sting of betrayal, as the people she had counted on for support were more concerned with their own agendas. One evening, Rose attempted to discuss her feelings with John. She approached him after dinner, hoping to bridge the growing chasm between them. "John, I feel like we're not on the same page anymore," she began, trying to convey her hurt and confusion. John sighed, rubbing his temples. "I'm trying to keep everything afloat, Rose. The bills, the house, it's all a lot to handle right now." His tone was defensive, as if her concerns were just another problem to solve. The conversation quickly devolved into an argument, with Rose trying to express her need for emotional support while John focused on logistics and finances. Diane, overhearing the exchange, weighed in with her usual bluntness. "Rose, you have to understand, we're all under a lot of stress here," she said, her voice lacking empathy. Rose's heart sank, realizing that they saw her illness as an obstacle rather than a shared challenge. Feeling isolated, Rose confided in Claire and Mike, seeking solace and clarity. Over coffee with Claire, she poured out her frustrations. "I'm tired of feeling like I'm just another burden to them," Rose admitted, her voice shaky with emotion. Claire listened, offering a comforting presence. "You deserve to be surrounded by people who truly care for you, Rose. Don't let them make you feel otherwise," Claire advised, strengthening Rose's resolve. Encouraged by her friends, Rose began to take control of her own narrative. She realized that she needed to prioritize her own well-being and protect her cherished home from those who saw it as nothing more than an asset. With the unwavering support of her true friends, Rose found the courage to stand up for herself, ready to face whatever challenges lay ahead with determination and hope. Rose sat alone in her bedroom, the weight of despair pressing heavily on her chest. The realization that John and Diane were more focused on financial gain than on her well-being was a painful blow. She felt trapped in a house that no longer felt like home, surrounded by people who saw her illness as an inconvenience. The betrayal cut deeply, leaving her feeling isolated and abandoned at a time when she needed support the most. The house, once filled with warmth and cherished memories, now felt like a cold reminder of her struggles. Each room echoed with the conversations she had overheard, the dismissive remarks and self-serving plans that had shattered her trust. Rose found herself questioning everything: her marriage, her choices, and her future. She felt like a stranger in her own life, disconnected from the people she had once considered her family. In the days that followed, Rose struggled to find the strength to face her challenges. The weight of her illness and the emotional toll of John and Diane's betrayal left her feeling defeated. She withdrew from the world, spending long hours in silence, trying to make sense of her reality. The vibrant connection she had with Mike, Ethan, and her friends felt distant, overshadowed by the overwhelming darkness of her current situation. Rose realized that she was at a crossroads, a critical point where she had to decide how to move forward. She knew she couldn't continue living in a state of despair, yet the path ahead seemed fraught with obstacles. The idea of standing up to John and Diane felt daunting, but she understood that it was necessary for her own well-being. She needed to reclaim her voice and assert her right to live her life on her terms. One night, as she lay in bed, Rose found herself reflecting on the love and support she had received from her true friends. Claire's words echoed in her mind, reminding her of the strength she possessed. "You deserve better, Rose. Don't let them take away your hope," Claire had said. With these words as her guide, Rose began to muster the courage to confront her fears and fight for her future, determined to find a way forward despite the odds. In the quiet solitude of her bedroom, Rose found herself lost in deep introspection. The realization of how far she had drifted from the life she once envisioned weighed heavily on her. She reflected on her journey, the unexpected twists and turns that had brought her to this moment. In the stillness of the night, Rose began to sift through her feelings, seeking clarity amid the turmoil. She knew she had reached a turning point, one that demanded honesty and courage. Her mind wandered to the unwavering support of her friends, especially Claire and Mike. Their kindness and understanding had been a lifeline, reminding her of the true meaning of friendship and love. Rose thought about Mike's gentle strength and the joy Ethan brought into her life. She realized that, despite her circumstances, she had found genuine connections that gave her hope and resilience. These relationships were a testament to the power of love and authenticity, offering her a glimpse of the life she longed to create. Rose's introspection led her to acknowledge the harsh reality of her relationship with John. She recognized that she had been clinging to a version of their marriage that no longer existed, hoping for a change that would never come. The betrayal she felt was profound, but it also served as a catalyst for her to reevaluate her priorities. She understood that she deserved to be surrounded by people who genuinely cared for her, who valued her presence and supported her journey. As the dawn began to break, casting a soft light through her window, Rose felt a shift within herself. She realized that she had the strength to face her fears and take control of her life. It was time to let go of the past and embrace a future filled with possibility. She thought of Mike, whose friendship had grown into something deeper and more meaningful. His kindness had shown her that love could be gentle and steadfast, offering a partnership built on trust and mutual respect. With newfound determination, Rose made a decision. She would confront John and Diane, asserting her needs and setting boundaries to protect her emotional well-being. She would seek a future where she was free to pursue happiness and build a life grounded in love and authenticity. The road ahead might be challenging, but she knew she was not alone. With her friends by her side and a heart open to new beginnings, Rose felt ready to embrace the possibilities that lay ahead. On the day of the confrontation, Rose prepared herself with the same meticulousness she had seen in her grandmother, who always said that important moments deserved respect and clarity. She arranged the living room with a sense of formality, placing 3 chairs in a semicircle facing the fireplace, where the crackling logs filled the air with warmth and light. In her lap was a leather-bound journal, a symbolic testament to the life and future she envisioned for herself. When John and Diane entered the room, Rose gestured for them to sit. She took a moment to gather her thoughts, opening the journal to a page marked with determination. "Thank you for joining me," she began, her voice calm and deliberate. "I've given much thought to my life, my health, and what I need moving forward. Today, I want to share my intentions, as though it were my testament for what comes next." John leaned forward, a hint of concern in his eyes, while Diane maintained her usual cool composure. Rose took a deep breath, allowing the weight of her words to settle in the room. "I've decided to file for divorce and retain ownership of the house," she declared, her voice steady. "This home is more than just bricks and mortar to me. It's a sanctuary, a place where I can heal and rebuild." John blinked, clearly taken aback by the solemnity of her tone. "Rose, is this really what you want?" he asked, trying to understand the gravity of her decision. She nodded, her gaze unwavering. "It is," she affirmed. "This is my path to recovery and happiness, and I need to surround myself with positivity and support. It's a decision made with love and self-respect." Diane shifted in her seat, finally breaking her silence. "And what about us, Rose?" she inquired, her voice tinged with a mix of skepticism and curiosity. Rose looked at both of them, compassion and firmness in her eyes. "I hope you'll find your own peace and understanding in this change," she replied. "But I must prioritize my own well-being. This is a necessary step for me." As the conversation drew to a close, Rose felt a profound sense of liberation. She had laid bare her intentions with clarity and grace, reclaiming her life and her future. Afterward, she met with Mike in the garden to share the news. "I did it," she said, feeling the lightness of newfound freedom. Mike smiled, reaching out to hold her hand. "I'm proud of you, Rose. You've taken a brave step forward," he replied, offering his unwavering support. With her path set, Rose felt ready to embrace a future filled with possibilities. The challenges ahead would be significant, but she was equipped with the strength and love of those who truly cared for her. She was ready to build a life marked by authenticity, resilience, and joy, with the confidence that she was charting her own course. With the divorce finalized and John and Diane gone, Rose felt an immense sense of relief and liberation as she reclaimed her home. The house was once again a place of peace and comfort, free from the tension and betrayal that had clouded her life. Rose embraced this newfound freedom, eager to fill the space with love and warmth. Her cherished home, filled with memories of her grandmother and her own childhood, now symbolized a fresh start and the opportunity to live life on her own terms. Mike and Rose's relationship blossomed during this time of transition. What had begun as a deep friendship evolved into something more, a romantic connection grounded in trust and understanding. One evening, after a day spent working together in the garden, Mike took Rose's hand and spoke with sincerity. "I've grown to care about you a lot, Rose. I'd love to see where this could go if you feel the same way," he said, his eyes filled with hope. Rose smiled, her heart light. "I do, Mike. I really do," she replied, and they shared a kiss that marked the beginning of their new journey together. As they spent more time together, Mike and Rose's relationship brought a renewed sense of joy to Rose's life. They spent evenings cooking together in the kitchen, where laughter and the clinking of dishes filled the air. On weekends, they explored local hiking trails and visited farmers markets, enjoying the simple pleasures of life. Ethan, too, became a cherished part of Rose's daily routine, his youthful energy bringing laughter and delight to her home. "This house is my favorite place now," Ethan announced one afternoon as he played in the yard with Rose. "Mine too, Ethan," Rose agreed, feeling grateful for the vibrant family they were creating. With her home filled with love and new beginnings, Rose felt a profound sense of contentment. The walls that once echoed with tension now resonated with happiness and harmony. Her relationship with Mike brought her a sense of stability and belonging she hadn't felt in years. "Being here with you feels like coming home," Mike often said, and Rose knew exactly what he meant. Their bond was rooted in shared values and genuine affection, offering a future filled with possibilities. As Rose reflected on her journey, she felt a deep sense of gratitude for the path she had traveled. The challenges she had faced had been transformative, leading her to prioritize her well-being and embrace change. Her home was now a sanctuary once more, a place where love thrived and dreams flourished. Surrounded by the people who truly cared for her, Rose felt empowered to embrace each day with courage and hope, confident in the knowledge that her future was bright and full of promise. With her new life taking shape, Rose experienced a profound sense of joy and fulfillment. Her home, once the site of tension and uncertainty, had become a haven of love and laughter. Each day brought fresh opportunities to celebrate the life she was building with Mike and Ethan, a life marked by genuine connections and shared dreams. Rose had embraced change, and in doing so, discovered a depth of happiness she hadn't known was possible. Her relationship with Mike deepened as they spent more time together, exploring the rhythms of their daily lives. They established new traditions: Saturday morning hikes through the nearby trails, Sunday dinners with friends, and quiet evenings spent reading by the fireplace. These moments, though simple, were filled with a sense of belonging and contentment that Rose cherished. Mike's presence brought stability and warmth to her home, and Ethan's infectious laughter added a vibrant energy that filled every room. As Rose thrived in her new environment, John and Diane faced the consequences of their choices. Without the house to anchor them, they were forced to reassess their priorities and confront the reality of their actions. The financial gain they had hoped for never materialized, leaving them to navigate a future shaped by their decisions. For John, it was a time of introspection and reflection, a chance to understand the true meaning of success and happiness beyond material wealth. While Rose's journey had been difficult, she found peace in knowing that she had prioritized her well-being and surrounded herself with those who genuinely cared for her. Her friendships with Claire and others continued to flourish, providing a network of support and encouragement. Together, they celebrated milestones and shared in life's ups and downs, reminding Rose of the power of community and authentic relationships. As the seasons changed, Rose embraced the beauty of her new life, filled with love and purpose. She felt empowered to pursue her passions, dedicating time to creative projects and volunteering in the community. Her home became a gathering place for friends and family, a space where laughter and love abounded. Surrounded by those who truly valued her, Rose knew she had built a life of meaning and fulfillment, one that honored her past while embracing the possibilities of the future. The morning sun poured through the large bay window of Rose's living room, casting a warm, golden glow across the room. The gentle hum of life surrounded her as she stood by the window, sipping her tea and watching the garden outside come to life with the colors of summer. The once silent house was now alive with the sounds of joy and laughter, a testament to the vibrant new chapter she had created. Mike and Ethan were busy in the kitchen, preparing breakfast, their playful banter echoing through the house. Rose could hear Ethan's giggles as Mike attempted to flip pancakes, filling the air with the comforting aroma of vanilla and cinnamon. Claire was expected any moment now, joining them for one of their cherished weekend brunches. The house, filled with warmth and friendship, felt like a true home, a reflection of the life Rose had built on her own terms. As Rose moved to set the table, she glanced at the photos adorning the walls, images of shared adventures, smiling faces, and cherished memories captured over the months. Each picture told a story of love, resilience, and the power of genuine connections. The walls that once held echoes of conflict now resonated with the harmony of a family formed not by blood, but by choice and love. The doorbell rang, and Rose greeted Claire with a warm hug, grateful for the steadfast friendship that had been a constant throughout her journey. They settled at the table, surrounded by delicious food and the company of those who truly cared. Rose looked around, feeling a deep sense of gratitude for the life she had created, a life marked by authenticity, love, and a newfound freedom to be herself. As they shared stories and laughter, Rose realized that she had not only survived but thrived, overcoming the challenges that once seemed insurmountable. Her heart was full, her spirit renewed, and her future bright with possibilities. Surrounded by her chosen family, Rose knew she had come home to herself, embracing a life filled with love, joy, and endless possibilities.